Welcome to Monk's Temple. Find a comfortable position. Let your body settle. Feel the support beneath you, the chair, the floor, the bed. There's no need to change anything, no need to fix anything right now. Just begin to notice. Notice the weight of your hands. The gentle rise and fall of your chest. The subtle hum of the world around you and the quieter world within. Tonight, we begin not by doing, but by listening. Not by adding, but by discovering what has been here all along, waiting patiently beneath the noise of the day. Let's start with a simple realization: most of our exhaustion comes not from the events of our lives, but from the invisible stories we tell about them. The mind is a masterful, relentless narrator. It spins tales of what should have happened, of what might happen, weaving a thick tapestry of commentary over the bare canvas of our actual experience. This narration feels so real, so immediate, that we mistake it for truth. But what if you could learn to listen to the silence between the words? What if you could step back, just a few inches, and become aware of the space that holds both the story and the storyteller? This is the essence of the path we'll explore together. It is a path of gentle disentanglement, guided by the profound wisdom of the Buddhist teachings. Not as a distant philosophy, but as a living, breathing way of meeting your own life with clarity and compassion. Let me share a story from my own life, one that taught me the difference between the noise and the silence beneath it. Years ago, I was on a long train journey through the countryside. The scenery was a blur of greens and grays. My mind, however, was not on the landscape. It was locked in a frantic, internal debate over a decision I had to make. A career choice that felt monumental. The arguments for and against spun in loops, each thought feeding the next, creating a dense fog of anxiety. I was so lost in this mental storm that I was barely present in my own body, hurtling through that beautiful country. Then, an elderly man sat down in the seat across from me. He didn't speak. He simply sat, looking out the window with a soft, attentive gaze. After a long while, he turned to me and said, very gently, "The fields don't worry about being fields." He smiled and went back to looking outside. His words cut through my mental chatter like a bell. I looked out the window. He was right. There was a vast, rain-soaked field, utterly at ease in its being. It wasn't thinking, "I should be a forest," or "what if the harvest fails?" It was simply a field, present, complete. In that moment, I saw the sheer, exhausting effort of my own mental commentary. I saw that the anxiety was not the decision itself, but the torrent of words and fears I was pouring onto the decision. I took a breath, and for the first time in hours, I simply saw the field. I felt the rhythm of the train. I heard the sound of the wheels on the tracks. The problem hadn't changed, but the I who was holding the problem had shifted. I had stepped, just for a moment, from being lost in the story to being the aware space witnessing it. If this notion of finding space within your own storms resonates with you, I invite you to stay with us here at Monk's Temple. Consider subscribing. It's like choosing a quiet path for yourself and having a companion to walk it with you, a reminder to return to this place of listening when the world grows loud. That experience on the train was my first real teacher in what Buddhism calls mindfulness, sati. Not mindfulness as a trendy buzzword for productivity, but as the foundational capacity to be present, to know what is happening while it is happening, without immediate judgment. It is the art of placing your awareness on the direct experience of this breath, this sensation, this sound, rather than on the secondary story your mind creates about it. The Buddha taught this as the direct path to understanding, and ultimately, to peace. Most of us live like I did on that train. We are so completely identified with the passenger, the one with the worries, the plans, the regrets, that we forget we are also the train itself, the vast, moving, aware capacity that carries the passenger. The passenger's drama feels all-consuming, but the train is untouched by it. Mindfulness is the gentle remembering, I am not just the frantic passenger. I am also the train. Let's try a very simple experiment in this remembering. For the next few moments, let go of any effort to follow my words. Just turn your attention to your hands. Don't move them. Just feel them. Feel the subtle weight in your palms. Feel the temperature. Is there a sense of contact with your legs or with each other? Can you feel the aliveness, the faint hum of sensation? You're not thinking about your hands. You're feeling them. Notice how, when you do this, the noisy passenger of your mind, with its worries about tomorrow or its replay of yesterday, temporarily recedes into the background. You have, for a moment, shifted your identity from the storyteller to the aware field of sensation. This is a glimpse of freedom. This is mindfulness in action. From this ground of present moment awareness, we can begin to examine one of the most liberating, and most misunderstood, insights the Buddha offered. Anatta, often translated as no self. This doesn't mean you don't exist. It means the solid, unchanging, you, that you think you are, that me, with fixed opinions, permanent traits, and a rigid story, is more like a river than a statue. It is a flowing, changing process, not a fixed thing. We build this statue of me out of memories, opinions, roles, accomplishments, and failures. We cling to it, defend it, polish it, and suffer immensely when life threatens to chip away at it. We say, I am a successful person, and then tremble at the possibility of failure. We say, I am a kind person, and then feel furious when someone calls us selfish. The suffering comes from the clinging to the statue, not from the events themselves. A powerful metaphor for this is the sky and the clouds. You have been taught to believe you are a particular cloud, that angry cloud, that successful cloud, that anxious cloud. You spend your life trying to make your cloud the right shape, the right color, comparing it to other clouds, fearing the wind that will change it. Buddhism, with breathtaking kindness, points out, you are not the cloud. You are the sky. The sky holds all clouds, dark storms and brilliant sunsets, without being damaged, defined, or permanently altered by any of them. The clouds are the content of your experience, your changing thoughts, your fluctuating emotions, your shifting roles. The sky is the aware, spacious presence that knows the clouds. Your true nature is more like the sky, vast, clear, and fundamentally untouched. I saw a beautiful illustration of this in a friend named Maya. She was a celebrated pianist whose entire identity was fused with her talent. I am a pianist, she would say. It wasn't a job, it was who she was. Then, she developed a neurological condition that caused tremors in her hands. Her career, and with it her very sense of self, shattered. The pianist cloud was violently dispersed. She fell into a deep depression, a void where her identity had been. For months, she was lost. Therapy helped, but what truly shifted her was a seemingly silly suggestion from a yoga teacher, to watch the clouds for 10 minutes each day. No analysis, just watching. She began this practice on her rooftop. One afternoon, after a storm, she saw a breathtaking sight. Ragged, dark clouds were breaking apart, and behind them was the clearest, deepest blue sky she had ever seen. The contrast was stunning. In that moment, she told me, she wept. Not tears of sadness, but of profound recognition. "I've been mourning the loss of my cloud," she said, "and I completely forgot about the sky. The music was my cloud. But the listening, the love, the awareness that heard the music, that's the sky. That isn't gone. That can never tremble." She didn't magically recover the use of her hands, but she recovered herself. She began to compose music in her mind, to teach, to listen to music with a depth she never had before. She had disidentified from the pianist, cloud, and discovered the sky of her own being. Her suffering didn't end, but her entanglement with it did. This is the freedom of anatta. It is not an annihilation, but a homecoming. You are invited to relax out of the exhausting work of maintaining and defending your personal cloud, and to rest as the sky that you have always been. Let's continue. Having touched upon the spacious sky of awareness, let's look at what most commonly obscures it, our habits of grasping and pushing away. In the language of the Buddha, this is tanha, craving and aversion. It is the endless, often silent, pull toward what we desire and the push against what we dislike. This constant subtle movement of the mind is like a riptide beneath a seemingly calm ocean surface, pulling us relentlessly away from the shore of present moment peace. We believe happiness lies in the next thing, the next purchase, the next promotion, the next vacation, the next compliment. And we believe peace lies in eliminating the next problem, the next difficult emotion, the next criticism, the next inconvenience. So we live in a state of perpetual becoming, leaning into an imagined future or recoiling from an remembered past, missing the only time we ever actually have, now. A helpful metaphor here is the dog chasing its own tail. The dog believes the source of its excitement, the answer to its boredom, is just at the tip of its tail. It spins in frantic, dizzying circles, never catching it, only growing more exhausted. We are that dog. The tail is our craving for a different experience. We spin in cycles of wanting, getting, becoming briefly bored, and wanting again. We spin in cycles of worrying, avoiding, facing the feared thing, and finding a new worry. The Buddha's radical suggestion is to simply stop. Sit down. Stop chasing the tail. And in that stopping, discover that the wholeness you were seeking was never in the tail to begin with, it was in the very body of the dog that was doing the chasing. Peace isn't found in the fulfillment of the next craving. It's found in the quiet space that opens up when the craving is seen for what it is and gently let be. This brings us to a cornerstone of the path, impermanence, anicca. Everything that arises passes away. Every sensation, every feeling, every thought, every situation. We know this intellectually, but our emotional lives are a rebellion against it. We want pleasure to stay, pain to leave, people to remain, and our own selves to be constant. This resistance to the fundamental law of change is the engine of so much of our suffering. Imagine you are floating on your back in a wide, gentle river. The water is constantly moving. Sometimes it carries fragrant blossoms to you. You try to grab them, to hold them, but the current pulls them from your grasp. Sometimes it carries cold, uncomfortable chunks of ice. You try to push them away, to swim upstream to avoid them, exhausting yourself. Suffering is the struggle against the current. Wisdom is the realization that you cannot stop the river. You can, however, relax your body, trust the buoyancy of the water, and float. The blossoms will come and go. The ice will come, touch you with its cold, and go. You are not the blossoms or the ice. You are the one floating, experiencing the ever-changing flow. The river itself is life, and your struggle against its nature is optional. I witnessed the profound acceptance of impermanence in the most ordinary of places. A neighborhood bakery run by an elderly Japanese woman named Mrs. Sato. Her pastries were famous, but she only made a certain amount each day. When they were gone, she closed. People would line up, anxious, worried they'd miss out. One day, a frantic customer arrived just as she was putting up the "sold out" sign. "But I came all this way. Can't you just make one more batch?" he pleaded. Mrs. Sato smiled her gentle smile and said, "The cherry blossoms are most beautiful because they fall. If they stayed on the branches forever, would we have hanami? Would we cherish them? No. The beauty is in the moment, and the letting go. Come back tomorrow. The pastries will be different." She wasn't being stingy. She was teaching a lesson in non-attachment and the beauty of flux. Her bakery was a temple of anicca. She embodied the understanding that the joy of the fresh, warm pastry was inseparable from the fact of its temporary availability. To try to freeze the moment, to demand endless pastries, would kill the very joy she offered. When we internalize impermanence, our relationship to loss softens. We begin to see that every ending makes space for a new beginning. Every no redirects us to a different yes. The constant change is not a threat to our security, it is the very nature of aliveness. The tight fist of clinging begins to relax into an open hand, ready to receive what is here, and ready to release it when it is time. Let's practice with this right now. Bring to mind a minor annoyance from today, a small frustration, a slight delay. Feel the residual energy of aversion in your body. Now, say to yourself, inwardly, "This is already passing. The event is over. Only the echo remains in me." Breathe into the space around that echo. Watch it like you'd watch a ripple on a pond, knowing it will smooth out and vanish into the still water. You are not the ripple. You are the pond. From this understanding of impermanence and the end of futile craving, a natural sense of care for all things arises. This is compassion, karuna, and its close partner, loving-kindness, metta. These are not mere sentimental feelings. They are the natural outward flow of a heart that is no longer tightly constricted around its own selfish concerns. When you see through the illusion of a separate, solid self, and when you understand the universal reality of impermanence and suffering, how could you not feel a deep connection and a wish for the well-being of others? True compassion, in the Buddhist sense, is intelligent. It is not about being a doormat or tolerating harm. It is the strong, clear, sometimes fierce water that knows how to flow around obstacles, how to nourish, and how, when necessary, to wear down the hardest stone with its persistent, gentle pressure. It begins with yourself. You cannot offer genuine kindness from an empty cup. The first step of metta is often directed inward. May I be safe. May I be peaceful. May I be kind to myself. I learned the hard way about the necessity of self-compassion. Early in my practice, I threw myself into meditation retreats with a kind of aggressive austerity. I would sit for hours in pain, judging myself for every wandering thought, trying to achieve enlightenment. I became irritable, rigid, and ironically, less compassionate toward others because I was so merciless with myself. My teacher, seeing my struggle, gave me a single instruction for a week: every time you sit, place a hand gently over your heart. And every time a harsh thought arises, feel the warmth of your own hand first. It felt absurdly simple. But that physical anchor of kindness changed everything. It reminded me that the path was not about warring with myself, but about coming home to myself. The compassion that later flowed more easily to others was simply an extension of the gentleness I had learned to offer my own striving, stumbling heart. One of the most moving examples of karuna I've encountered was in a hospice volunteer named Thomas. He sat with the dying, not with platitudes or false cheer, but with a profound, silent presence. He once told me about sitting with a man who was raging against his impending death, furious at God, at his family, at his own body. Thomas didn't try to calm him or fix his feelings. He simply listened, nodded, and occasionally placed a steadying hand on the man's shoulder. After the storm of anger passed, there was just exhaustion and fear. Thomas said softly, "It's so hard, isn't it? To not know what's next." The man looked at him, and all his defenses dissolved into tears. He wasn't alone anymore. Thomas's compassion was the fearless willingness to be present with suffering without needing to change it, to offer the solidarity of shared humanity in the face of the great unknown. That is compassion in its purest form, a shared bearing of the unbearable. As we cultivate this heart of compassion, we naturally begin to live with more ethical integrity, sila. This is not about following a list of rigid rules from a place of fear or guilt. It is the natural, organic result of seeing interconnectedness. When you understand that your actions ripple out, affecting the web of life of which you are a part, causing harm simply ceases to make sense. You protect others because you see they are not truly other. You speak truthfully because deception creates a painful split in your own mind. You practice generosity because hoarding feels like constricting your own life force. Ethical living becomes an expression of your awakened understanding, not a burdensome obligation. Let's continue. We've explored the sky-like nature of awareness, the river of impermanence, and the heart of compassion. Now, let's address the very thing that often sends us seeking these truths, dukkha. The pervasive sense of unsatisfactoriness, stress, or suffering. The Buddha didn't start his teaching with blissful promises. He started with the brave, clear-eyed acknowledgement of dukkha. This is not pessimism, it is profound diagnostic honesty. You cannot cure a disease you refuse to acknowledge. We often think of suffering as the big, dramatic events, illness, loss, betrayal. But dukkha is subtler. It's the background hum of anxiety. The slight agitation when things aren't going our way. The ennui that follows even a pleasurable experience. The feeling that something is missing, even in a good life. Buddhism teaches that this suffering has a cause, and more importantly, a cure. The cause, in its essence, is the riptide we spoke of, craving and aversion, rooted in ignorance of how things truly are, our misperception of a solid self in an impermanent, interconnected flow. We suffer because we keep trying to make the river behave like a pond. We try to grasp the water and hold it still. The cure is the Noble Eightfold Path, a practical, integrated guide for living that addresses wisdom, ethical conduct, and mental discipline. It is not a linear staircase, but more like 8 spokes of a wheel, all connected to the hub of wise understanding. We've touched on some of these: right view, understanding impermanence, non-self, suffering, right intention, the resolve for compassion and harmlessness. Right speech, action, and livelihood, ethical conduct. Now let's look at the training of the mind, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This is where meditation, bhavana, or mental cultivation, becomes our essential training ground. Meditation is not about achieving a trance state or blanking out the mind. It is the gym for the mind-heart. It is where we develop the strength of concentration, samadhi, and the clarity of mindfulness, sati. Necessary to see through our habits and find freedom. A metaphor I find useful is that of training a puppy. Your untrained mind is like an adorable, chaotic puppy. It chases every squirrel of thought, digs holes in every memory, piddles on the carpet of your good intentions, and chews up the furniture of your peace. Getting angry at the puppy is pointless. Locking it in a cage is repression, not training. Right effort is the patient, consistent work of gently bringing the puppy back to the mat, over and over and over again. The mat is your object of meditation, the breath, a phrase, a sensation. You don't scold the puppy, self-judgment. You don't give up and let it run wild, indulgence. You simply, kindly, patiently, lead it back. Every time you notice the mind has wandered and gently return it, you are doing right effort. You are strengthening the muscle of attention and weakening the habit of distraction. Right mindfulness is the quality of attention you bring to the mat. It's not just being on the mat. It's knowing you are on the mat. It's feeling the texture of the breath, noticing the quality of the mind in that moment. Is it restless? Is it dull? Is it peaceful, without getting lost in commentary about it? It's watching the puppy's energy with interest and care. Right concentration is what develops when the puppy finally settles on the mat, not out of exhaustion, but out of trust and training. The mind becomes unified, collected, steady. It's not forced or tense. It is a natural, relaxed focus, like a lens bringing a diffuse beam of sunlight into a single, potent point. This concentrated mind is not easily shaken. It becomes a powerful tool for insight. I'd like to share a story about the transformative power of this training from a man named Carl. Carl was a firefighter, a man of action. He came to meditation because of crippling insomnia and flashbacks after a particularly traumatic call. Sitting still felt like torture. His mind was a wildfire of horrific images. He told me, "My mind is a burning building. I can't go in there. It's all chaos and pain." I suggested he not try to sit in the traditional sense. Instead, I asked him to simply stand in a strong, grounded posture, like he would at a fire, and feel his feet on the floor. To feel the strength in his legs, the solidity of his spine. To use his body as his mat. Then, to just notice the sensation of his breath moving in his chest, the rise and fall, like a steady bellows. He wasn't trying to stop the fire in his mind, he was just anchoring himself firmly outside it, feeling his own stability. For weeks, that was his practice, standing, feeling, breathing. Slowly, the burning building of his mind began to cool. He wasn't trapped inside it anymore, he was a steady, present observer outside it. The memories lost their visceral, overwhelming power. They became images on a screen, painful but not all-consuming. He had used the tools of right effort, returning to the body, right mindfulness, feeling the sensations, and right concentration, the steady focus on the anchor, to create a space of safety within himself. He later said, "I learned I don't have to put the fire out in my head. I just have to remember I'm the firefighter, not the fire." This is the purpose of meditation in Buddhism. Not to escape life, but to develop the inner resources to meet life with clarity and resilience. It is the process of moving from being lost in the content of your experience to being grounded in the aware, stable presence that knows the experience. From this stable, concentrated mind, deep insight, prajna, can arise. This is not intellectual knowledge, but a direct, intuitive seeing into the true nature of reality, anicca, dukkha, anatta. You don't just believe it, you see it. You see the impermanence of a feeling as it arises and passes. You see the suffering inherent in clinging. You see the selflessness of all phenomena. This insight is liberating. It cuts the roots of ignorance. Let's pause and practice a brief integration. Settle into your posture. Let your awareness rest lightly on the breath. Don't control it. Just feel it. When the mind wanders, and it will, gently note wandering and guide your attention back to the feeling of the breath. That's right effort. Feel the coolness of the in-breath, the warmth of the out-breath. That's right mindfulness. Allow the attention to settle there, becoming steadier with each cycle. That's the beginning of right concentration. For just 2 minutes, be the patient trainer with the puppy of your mind. Good. In that simple act, you were engaging the heart of the Buddha's path of mental training. You were cultivating the tools for your own peace. Let's continue. We've established a foundation, awareness, understanding of impermanence and suffering, the beginnings of ethical living and mental training. Now, let's explore the environment that makes this deep inner work not just possible, but potent, solitude. This is a deeply misunderstood concept. It is not loneliness, which is a painful feeling of absence. It is not misanthropy, a rejection of people. True solitude is a conscious, chosen, and compassionate withdrawal from external stimulation in order to meet yourself without distraction. In our hyper-connected world, solitude is a radical act. We fear the empty space, the quiet room, because we have become unfamiliar with the one who inhabits it. We fill every gap with noise, screens, and company, afraid of what we might find in the silence. But the Buddha and countless practitioners through the ages have understood that solitude is the crucible for transformation. It is in the quiet that the sediment of our busy minds can settle, allowing us to see clearly what the water truly contains. Think of your mind as a lake in a storm. The wind and rain, external stimuli, social interactions, constant input, churn up the water, stirring mud from the bottom. The lake is turbulent, opaque. You can't see the depths, the beautiful stones on the bottom, the steady plant life. Solitude is like rowing into a sheltered cove where the wind cannot reach. You stop stirring the water. At first, all the disturbed mud swirls. This is the backlog of thoughts, unresolved emotions, and mental clutter rising to the surface. It can look messier than before. But if you have the courage to stay, to not row frantically back into the storm to escape the murkiness, something magical happens. The mud begins to settle. Particle by particle, the water clears. And as it clears, you begin to see the landscape of your own depths, your innate clarity, your hidden strengths, your forgotten wounds that need healing. You see the beautiful, unchanging bottom of the lake, your fundamental nature, which is peaceful and clear. My most profound lesson in solitude came not in a remote cave, but in a city apartment during a power outage. A winter storm knocked out electricity for 3 days. No lights, no heat, no internet, no phone charge. The first night was a comedy of frustration. The second day, the boredom was acute. But by the second night, something shifted. Lit by a single candle, with nothing to do and no one to call, I was forced to just be. I watched the candle flame. I listened to the unfamiliar sound of a silent building. I felt the cold air on my skin. And I met a profound quiet inside myself that I hadn't known existed. In that quiet, a memory surfaced. A simple, happy memory of building a fort with my sister as a child, a memory untouched by any problems. It brought me to tears, not of sadness, but of recognition of a pure joy that had been buried under decades of adult concerns. That power outage was a gift. It forced me into a solitude that revealed a forgotten part of my own heart. It taught me that we don't need to go to the wilderness to find solitude. We need to disconnect from the virtual world long enough to connect with the actual one, both outside and within. Solitude is where we practice renunciation, nekkhamma. This is another word that scares people. It sounds like giving up everything you love. But renunciation is not about deprivation, it's about prioritization. It is the conscious choice to renounce lower pleasures for higher peace, to renounce distraction for depth, to renounce the clutter of too many options for the focus of what is essential. In solitude, you naturally renounce the constant input of others' voices and opinions. You create a space where your own inner voice, often drowned out, can finally be heard. I knew a brilliant graphic designer named Lena who was perpetually burned out. Her life was a blur of client demands, social media updates, and networking events. She felt creatively empty. On a whim, she booked a week at a simple cabin, leaving her laptop and phone behind, taking only a sketchbook and pencils. The first 2 days, she said, were agony, itchy, restless, filled with guilt for not being productive. On the third day, out of sheer boredom, she started drawing the knots in the wooden wall. Then the pattern of leaves outside the window. Then, memories from her childhood began to flow onto the page, drawings of her grandmother's hands, her old treehouse. She wasn't drawing for a client or a post. She was drawing for the sheer, forgotten joy of it. She told me, in that silence, I met my creativity again. It had been there all along, buried under a mountain of shoulds and musts. I had to renounce the whole world of deadlines and likes to remember what it felt like to make something just because it wanted to be made. She returned with a renewed sense of purpose and now builds solitude Sabbaths into every month. She renounced busyness to reclaim her soul's work. In the fertile ground of solitude, nourished by renunciation, the seed of equanimity, upekkha, can take root. Equanimity is not indifference. It is not a flat, emotionless state. It is the profound balance of a heart that has made peace with the changing nature of all things. It is the ability to remain steady, calm, and clear-minded in the midst of life's inevitable ups and downs, the pleasure and pain, gain and loss, praise and blame, fame and ill repute, that the Buddha spoke of. Equanimity is like the depth of the ocean. The surface may be whipped by hurricanes, strong emotions, or calm as glass, pleasant feelings. But 100 feet down, there is a steady, quiet, powerful presence that is unaffected by the surface weather. Through the practice of solitude and mindfulness, we learn to access that depth within ourselves. We learn that we can feel joy without clinging to it, and feel grief without drowning in it. We can be fully engaged in life while anchored in a deeper peace. Let's continue. As we cultivate solitude and equanimity, we naturally develop a clearer lens through which to view our lives and our choices. This brings us to the practical application of wisdom in our daily actions, particularly through the spirit of generosity, dana. In Buddhism, generosity is considered the fundamental virtue, the starting point of the path. It is the direct antidote to the greed and clinging that cause so much suffering. Dana is not just about giving money or things. It is an attitude, a letting go of the tight-fistedness of the ego. It is the giving of time, attention, forgiveness, patience, and kindness. Every act of true generosity is a small, practical lesson in anatta. It loosens our identification with me and mine and strengthens our sense of connection to a larger whole. When you give freely, without expectation of reward or even gratitude, you experience a taste of freedom from the prison of self-concern. A beautiful metaphor for this is the apple tree. The tree does not say, "These are my apples." It simply draws nutrients from the earth and sun, and in season, produces fruit. It offers its fruit to birds, to insects, to humans, to the earth itself as it falls and decays. It gives its shade unconditionally. It does not keep a tally. Its nature is to give, and in that giving, it fulfills its purpose and ensures the continuation of life. We can practice being like the apple tree. Our resources, our skills, our kindness, these are our fruit. Hoarding them creates stagnation. Sharing them creates circulation, connection, and life. I witnessed transformative generosity in a surprising place, a busy downtown bus terminal. There was a man, let's call him Joe, who ran a tiny newsstand. Every day, without fanfare, he kept a pot of cheap coffee brewing and a stack of slightly stale muffins. He would offer them for free to anyone who looked like they were having a particularly hard day, the exhausted-looking student, the disheveled person down on their luck, the stressed parent with crying kids. He didn't make a big deal of it. He'd just say, "Looks like you could use a boost on the house." The cost to him was minimal, but the impact was immense. For that person, it wasn't about the coffee. It was the unexpected, no-strings-attached moment of human kindness, a crack in the impersonal armor of the city. Joe's small stall became an oasis. He told me once, "I used to be miserable here, counting every penny, suspicious of everyone. Then I started doing this. Now, this is the best place in the city. I know I'm part of something good." His generosity had transformed his own experience of his world more than anyone else's. Generosity flows naturally into another key aspect of the path, right livelihood. This element of the Noble Eightfold Path asks us to consider how we make our living. Does our work cause harm? Does it promote deceit, exploitation, or violence? Or does it contribute to well-being, healing, and truth? We spend so much of our lives at work. It must be aligned with our deepening understanding of ethics and compassion if we are to have inner peace. Right livelihood isn't necessarily about having a holy job. A bank teller can practice right livelihood by being honest, helpful, and fair. A farmer can practice it by caring for the land and animals. A CEO can practice it by creating a company that treats employees with respect and produces a beneficial product. It's about the intention and the impact. When our work is out of alignment with our values, it creates a deep, chronic dissonance, a form of dukkha. Bringing our livelihood into alignment is a powerful step toward integration. I coached a woman, Sarah, who was a highly successful lawyer at a firm that specialized in aggressive corporate takeovers. She was brilliant and wealthy, but she was plagued by insomnia and a vague sense of self-loathing. She felt like a mercenary. She came seeking meditation for stress relief. As her mindfulness grew, the dissonance between her daily actions and her inner sense of integrity became unbearable. She realized her stress wasn't from the long hours, it was from the spiritual violence of her work. It took immense courage, but she left the firm. She took a massive pay cut to work for a non-profit that provided legal aid to tenants facing unfair eviction. The work was harder in many ways, and financially stressful. But she told me, for the first time in my adult life, I sleep through the night. I go to work knowing I'm on the side of the vulnerable, not the powerful. I'm using the same skills, but now they feel like a superpower for good, not a weapon. This is right livelihood. It's the feeling of my outer life finally matching my inner truth. Her external circumstances became more challenging, but her internal suffering vanished. From the integrity of our work, we can look at the broader tapestry of our relationships through the lens of interdependence, pratitya samutpada, often called dependent origination. This is a profound and sophisticated Buddhist teaching that everything arises and exists based on a complex web of causes and conditions. Nothing exists in isolation. You are here because of your parents, the farmers who grew your food, the teachers who taught you, the sunlight that fuels the ecosystem, and on and on. Your thoughts are not independent, they are reactions to stimuli, shaped by past experiences, cultural conditioning, and biological factors. Understanding this dissolves the illusion of separation and blame. That difficult person in your life is not an isolated villain, they are a nexus of their own causes and conditions, their genetics, their upbringing, their wounds. This doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it helps you respond to it with wisdom rather than blind reactivity. You see them as part of the same tangled web you are in. Your own anger is not a solid, personal flaw, it is a conditioned response arising from specific causes. Seeing this, you can address the causes with more skill and self-compassion. A simple way to contemplate interdependence is to look at any ordinary object, a cup of tea. The tea leaves were grown by a farmer, picked by workers, processed in a factory, transported by truck drivers, sold by a shopkeeper, boiled in water that came through pipes installed by plumbers, in a kettle made by metalworkers. The web is infinite. This cup of tea contains the whole world. And so do you. You are a walking, talking manifestation of the universe. Your every action ripples out into this web. This realization fosters a deep sense of responsibility and care. Let's continue. With a heart softened by compassion, a mind clarified by solitude and meditation, and an understanding of our interconnected place in the web of life, we can now approach one of the most challenging arenas for practice, difficult emotions. The path is not about becoming a person who never feels anger, fear, jealousy, or sorrow. That is impossible and would be a kind of numbness, not freedom. The path is about changing our relationship to these emotions. Learning to meet them with the mindful awareness and spaciousness we've been cultivating, so they no longer hijack our peace or dictate our actions. A powerful metaphor for this is the idea of the guest house from the poet Rumi. This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival. A joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Imagine your awareness as a wise, kind host. Anger knocks on the door, a fierce, red-faced guest. The untrained mind either slams the door in panic, "I shouldn't feel this," or lets the guest in and gives it the keys to the house, letting it break furniture and yell at other guests. The mindful approach is to open the door calmly. "Ah, anger. I see you. You are welcome to come in and sit by the fire for a while. I will attend to you, listen to your message. But you may not run the house." You offer it a seat in the corner of your awareness. You feel its heat, you listen to its story of injustice or threat, but you don't become its puppet. You remain the host. In time, having been acknowledged without being empowered, the guest of anger will exhaust its energy and depart. The same with fear, with grief, with jealousy. They are all temporary visitors in the guest house of your being. I worked with a man named Ben who had explosive rage issues. It was destroying his marriage. He saw his anger as a monster inside him that he had to kill. This inner war just made him more tense and prone to outbursts. We worked on the guest house method. The next time he felt the heat rising, instead of trying to suppress it or act on it, his job was to say inwardly, "Hello, anger," and then immediately feel his feet on the ground and his breath in his belly. To host the feeling with his body awareness. The first time he tried it, he said the anger felt even bigger, more frightening. But he stayed with his breath. After about a minute, the intense peak passed, and what was left was a raw feeling of hurt underneath. The anger was just a loud protector for a more vulnerable feeling. Because he hadn't exploded, he was able to go to his wife and say, "When you said that, I felt really hurt," instead of screaming. It transformed their dynamic. He learned that the emotion wasn't the enemy, his unconscious identification with it was. This practice of hosting difficult emotions leads us to the related concept of forgiveness. In Buddhism, forgiveness is not about condoning harmful actions or forgetting injustice. It is, very simply, the act of releasing yourself from the prison of resentment. Holding on to anger and blame towards someone who has hurt you is like drinking poison and hoping the other person dies. It is a form of clinging that causes you ongoing suffering. Forgiveness is a decision, often a gradual process, to put down that heavy burden you've been carrying for their sake. It is an act of self-liberation. Forgiveness can be understood through the metaphor of the rusty anchor. A past hurt is an anchor embedded in the seabed of your memory. The chain is your resentment. As long as the chain is attached, you are stuck, circling that same painful spot, unable to sail into new waters. Forgiveness is not digging up the anchor, you can't change the past. It is the conscious act of unclipping the chain from your boat. The anchor remains where it is, but you are free. The boat is your present moment life. You can now catch the wind of new possibilities and sail on. A student of mine, Maria, carried deep resentment toward her mother, who had been critical and emotionally distant. Maria's whole adult life was a reaction to this. She was a perfectionist, terrified of criticism, and often cold in her own relationships. She was chained to that anchor. Through meditation, she began to see her mother not as a monster, but as a deeply unhappy woman who was herself a product of a harsh upbringing, dependent origination. She saw the chain of suffering being passed down. One day, during a loving-kindness meditation, she tentatively included her mother in the phrases, "May you be free from suffering." She couldn't yet say, "I forgive you," but she could wish for her mother's freedom. Tears flowed. It was the beginning of unclipping the chain. She later wrote a letter, which she never sent, expressing her hurt and her decision to let go for her own peace. She didn't become best friends with her mother, but the chronic tension in her heart dissolved. She stopped reacting from that old wound. She had forgiven not to excuse her mother, but to free herself. Working with difficult emotions and forgiveness naturally deepens our practice of mindfulness in daily life. This is where the path becomes fully integrated. It's not just about the time on the cushion, it's about bringing that quality of non-judgmental, present moment awareness to washing dishes, driving in traffic, listening to a friend, or eating a meal. A wonderful practice is to choose one routine activity each day as your mindfulness bell. It could be brushing your teeth, waiting for your computer to boot, or walking to your car. For the duration of that activity, your only job is to be fully present with the sensations. Feel the toothbrush on your gums, taste the mint, hear the sound of the bristles. Feel your feet touching the ground with each step, the air on your skin. When you notice your mind has wandered into planning or remembering, gently bring it back to the sensations. This trains the mind to inhabit the present moment during the 99% of life that isn't formal meditation. Let's continue. As our practice matures, weaving mindfulness into the ordinary moments, we begin to encounter subtle but profound shifts in perception. We start to experience what might be called the fruits of the path. These are not supernatural states, but natural human capacities that blossom when the weeds of confusion are cleared. They include deep contentment, santuthi, unshakable peace, and a quiet, radiant joy that is not dependent on external conditions. This joy is not the frantic excitement of getting what you want. It is more like the steady warmth of the sun, always present behind the clouds. It arises from the simple fact of being awake, aware, and no longer at war with reality. It is the joy of the apple tree simply being a tree, of the sky simply being sky. It is the happiness of non-craving, of being enough, right here, right now. A metaphor for this is the clear mountain lake. When the water is still and clear, it perfectly reflects the moon and stars. The joy of the awakened heart is like that. It doesn't generate its own frantic light, it reflects the inherent beauty and peace of reality itself, simply because the turbulent waves of craving and aversion have settled. I saw this reflected joy in an elderly gardener I met in a public park. He worked slowly, methodically, tending to the rose beds. His hands were gnarled, his clothes simple. People often walked right by him. But if you paused to watch, there was a palpable aura of peace around him. One day, I complimented him on the roses. He looked up, his eyes clear and bright. "Thank you," he said. "But I don't grow the roses. The earth does. The rain does. The sun does. I just pull the weeds and make a little space. My job is to get out of the way." He went back to his work with a small smile. He wasn't waiting for a raise, for recognition, for the roses to bloom perfectly. His joy was in the simple, mindful act of making a little space, of participating harmoniously with life. He embodied santuthi, contentment with simplicity. His peace was a reflection of his clear, uncluttered mind. As this inner joy becomes more stable, our understanding of the path deepens into a recognition of non-duality. This is an advanced teaching, but we can touch its edge. It's the gradual dissolving of the final barrier between me and the world, between observer and observed. In deep states of meditation or moments of profound presence, the sense of a separate self watching an external reality can fall away. There is just experiencing. The breath breathes itself. The hearing hears. The thinker is gone, only thinking occurring. There is a seamless flow. This is not a bizarre mystical state, but a return to the natural, unfragmented perception of a young child before the concept of I solidifies. A helpful, if imperfect, metaphor is the wave realizing it is the ocean. The wave spends its life thinking, I am a wave. I am separate from that other wave. I am born, I rise, I crash, I die. This is the story of the separate self, full of drama and fear. Non-duality is the wave's realization, my substance is water. My form is temporary, but my essence is the ocean itself. I am not separate from the other waves or the vast deep. I am a movement of the ocean. In this realization, the fear of ending dissolves, because the wave understands it is not a separate entity that can be destroyed, it is a temporary form of the eternal ocean. Our suffering as separate selves is the wave's anxiety. Our peace is the wave's recognition of its true nature. This doesn't mean you walk around in a blur, not knowing your name. It means that in the background of your experience, the hard shell of separation has softened. You feel yourself as part of the flow of life, not a discrete object moving through it. Compassion becomes automatic because the other is not truly other. Your actions arise from a place of spontaneous wisdom and care, not from a calculating ego. A final, essential fruit of the path is the spirit of inquiry or great doubt. This is the understanding that the path never ends in a final, fixed answer. Wisdom is not a trophy to be placed on a shelf. It is a living process of questioning, exploring, and wondering. Even the Buddha's teachings are to be used as a raft to cross the river, not to be carried on your back once you reach the other shore. A truly awake mind retains a childlike curiosity, a don't know mind that meets every moment freshly. This protects us from spiritual pride, from thinking we've arrived. The path is a continuous unfolding, a lifelong conversation with reality. Your practice today might be letting go of a grudge. In 10 years, it might be exploring the nature of consciousness itself. It's all the same path, the path of waking up. Let's complete our journey together. We have traveled through many concepts. Awareness, impermanence, compassion, meditation, solitude, generosity, forgiveness, and the fruits of practice. But these are all merely maps. The territory is your own lived experience, this very breath, this very moment. The ultimate purpose of the Buddha's teaching is not to become an expert in Buddhist theory, but to become a fully alive, compassionate, and free human being. So, how do we bring this all together? We live the integrated life. We stop seeing practice as something we do for 20 minutes in the morning and life as something separate. We begin to see that life itself is the practice. Every interaction is an opportunity for mindfulness. Every challenge is an opportunity to practice equanimity. Every moment of joy is an opportunity to practice non-clinging. Every being we meet is an opportunity to practice compassion. The path doesn't lead you out of the world, it leads you back into it, but with new eyes. You return to your family, your work, your community, not as the same person who left on this journey of seeking, but as someone more grounded, more clear, more open. You participate fully, but you are no longer enslaved by the need for particular outcomes. You care deeply, but you are not shattered when things don't go as planned. You love, but you do not cling. Think of it as learning to dance with life. Before, you were stumbling, stepping on your own feet and your partner's, trying to lead a dance that cannot be led, resisting the music. Now, you have learned to listen to the rhythm of impermanence, of interdependence. You have learned to feel your own center of gravity. You can now move with the music, fluid, responsive, sometimes leading, sometimes following, but always in harmony with the larger song. The dance may still have missteps, but you no longer fight the dance itself. You have become the dance. My final story is about a woman named Anya, a former corporate strategist who now runs a small community garden in a struggling neighborhood. She embodies the integrated life. One afternoon, I visited her. She was covered in dirt, helping a group of teenagers plant tomatoes. A sudden, violent thunderstorm blew in. Everyone ran for cover. The teenagers groaned, "Our plants will get destroyed." Anya stood under the awning, watching the rain lash the young seedlings. She said calmly, "Some might. Some will get stronger roots from being tested. We'll replant what we need to. The rain is also part of the garden." Later, over tea, she talked about her old life of 5-year plans and quarterly targets. "I was trying to build a fortress against the storm," she said. "Now, I'm learning to be the garden. The sun, the rain, the pests, the harvest, it's all part of it. My job isn't to control. My job is to tend, to pay attention, and to adapt." In her, I saw the full flowering of the path, right view, understanding impermanence and interdependence, right livelihood, serving her community, right effort, the physical work, right mindfulness, tending with attention, and a heart full of karuna for both the plants and the kids. She wasn't hiding from life's storms, she was rooted deeply enough to withstand them and wise enough to learn from them. This integration invites a subtle but profound shift in motivation. In the beginning, we often practice to feel better, to reduce our anxiety, to find some peace. This is a good and honest start. But as wisdom deepens, the motivation naturally purifies. We no longer practice for peace, we practice from peace. We no longer meditate to get somewhere, we meditate from the understanding that we are already here, already whole. The action becomes an expression of our awakened nature, not a striving toward it. It's the difference between painting to create a beautiful picture and painting because the beauty within you is overflowing and must take form. Your mindful walk, your kind word, your moment of patience, these become not techniques, but authentic expressions of the clarity you have cultivated. This brings us to what might be called ordinary enlightenment. We have myths about enlightenment as a dramatic, one-time event that forever separates you from humanity, granting supernatural powers and eternal bliss. The Buddhist path, especially in its later Mahayana expressions, points towards something more humble and more integrated, the enlightenment of the ordinary mind. It is the realization that nirvana is not a distant realm separate from samsara, but the very quality of freedom and peace with which we meet the samsaric world of change and suffering. It is seeing the sacred in the secular, the boundless in the bounded, the eternal in the ephemeral. A beautiful metaphor for this is the lotus flower. It grows in the mud, rooted in the murky, messy water of worldly life. Its stem reaches up through the changing currents. And it blooms, pristine and beautiful, not in spite of the mud, but because of it. The mud is its nourishment. Ordinary enlightenment is not escaping the mud of your human life, your responsibilities, your relationships, your flaws, your past. It is learning to grow through it, to use all of it as compost for your awakening, until you bloom right where you are, fully engaged in the world yet utterly free in your heart. Your messy life becomes the very ground of your practice, not its obstacle. I once met a taxi driver in Kyoto who embodied this. He was in his late 60s, his car immaculate. The drive was through hectic traffic, but his presence was like a still pond. He drove with a serene focus. He noticed I was a visitor and, without any prompting, began to softly point out little things as we drove, a hidden temple gate down an alley, the way the light caught the maple leaves on a particular street, the history of a humble bridge we crossed. He wasn't a tour guide. He was a connoisseur of the present moment, sharing his love for the ordinary beauty of his city. When we arrived, I commented on his calm. He smiled and said, "This is my meditation. 20 years ago, this job made me angry, the traffic, the rude customers, the long hours. Then I realized, I am sitting all day. I have a wheel in my hands. I am breathing." So I started to pay attention to just that, sitting, steering, breathing. The traffic is just the scenery changing. The customers are guests in my moving zendo. Now, there is no difference between my work and my practice. It is all one thing. He bowed slightly as I left. He was a lotus blooming in the traffic, a living example that awakening doesn't require a monastery, it requires a shift of attention right where you are. As this integration deepens, your relationship to time itself transforms. The frantic division between past, present, and future begins to soften. You start to inhabit what the Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh called, the pure land of the present moment. The past becomes a series of memories arising in the present, the future, a series of anticipations arising in the present. All you ever truly have is this now. And in this now, when met with full awareness, everything you need is already contained. The peace you sought is not awaiting you in a completed goal, a healed relationship, or a perfected version of yourself. It is the very ground of your being when you stop running from the immediacy of your experience. This doesn't mean you stop planning or remembering. It means you do so without leaving home. You make plans from the present moment, for the benefit of the present moment's unfolding. You remember with tenderness or learn from regret, but you do so while feeling your feet on the floor now, knowing the memory is a present moment thought, not a prison. You release the heavy, burdensome sense of linear time and begin to live in cyclical, spacious time, like the seasons, always revolving around the eternal present. A student of mine, a historian named Leo, was obsessed with the past. His mind was a vast archive of dates and tragedies, which fueled a pervasive sense of melancholy about the world. He came to practice to escape history. Through mindfulness, he didn't escape it, he met it differently. He began a practice of historical mindfulness. When studying a painful period, he would first ground himself in his breath and body. Then, he would hold the historical facts in awareness, feeling the sorrow or anger that arose, but seeing them as weather in his present moment's sky. He started to notice how his personal reactions to history were shaping his research. More importantly, he began to see the timeless human patterns in the events. The cravings for power, the fear of the other, the moments of compassion, patterns that were alive in him and in the current world. His work transformed from a morbid study of dead events into a living inquiry into the human heart across time. He told me, "I used to live in the past. Now, the past lives in me, consciously. And because I see its patterns in the now, I feel more empowered to contribute to a different kind of future. Time is no longer a line I'm stuck on. It's a field I'm standing in." Finally, this integrated life flowers into what can be described as uncontrived kindness. When the heart-mind is clear and ungrasping, kindness is not a virtue you have to manufacture, it is the natural radiation of your clarity, like heat from a fire or fragrance from a flower. It arises without thought, in small, effortless ways, the patience with a slow cashier, the silent well-wishing for a stranger who seems stressed, the simple act of really listening. This is the Bodhisattva ideal made ordinary, the commitment to awakening, not just for oneself, but naturally and spontaneously for the benefit of all beings, because you no longer see a solid separation between your awakening and theirs. This is the ultimate homecoming of the path. You disappeared into the quiet not to become a special, spiritual person set apart, but to become more fully, ordinarily, beautifully human. You return not with answers to impress others, but with a profound capacity to be with the questions of life. You became unrecognizable to the old you because the old you was a story, a collection of reactions, a fragile statue. What remains is not a story, but a presence. Not a statue, but a flowing river. Not a cloud, but the sky. As we draw this long journey to a close, let's rest in the simplest truth of all. Beyond all concepts, practices, and stories, there is just this, awareness, knowing this moment. You don't have to create it. You don't have to find it. You are it. The breath breathes. Sounds are heard. Thoughts come and go. And the knowing presence that witnesses it all, that is who you truly are. Everything else, the seeker, the practitioner, the one who transforms, arises and passes within that. So the final invitation is to stop seeking yourself and to start being yourself. Fully. Completely. In the noise and in the silence. In the joy and in the sorrow. In the solitude and in the crowd. This is the quiet Buddhist path to transformation. It begins and ends not in a distant temple, but in the temple of your own attentive heart. You walked in with a question. You may leave with the same question, but held in a different space. A space so wide, so quiet, so kind, that the need for an answer simply falls away, and all that's left is peace. Thank you for the profound honor of sharing this journey with you here at Monk's Temple. May the clarity you've touched here guide your steps. May the compassion you felt for yourself extend effortlessly to all you meet. May you live from the deep, quiet truth of your being, and in doing so, bring a moment of unrecognizable peace to a world that so deeply needs it. Be well. Be awake. Be at peace. Until we meet again, in the space between breaths.